Hi, welcome to my show, Allie's Attic, where you never know what kind of surprises you'll find. I'm your host, Allie, and this week's surprise is my guest, who honestly doesn't need an introduction, but I'm going to give him one. He is a Canadian country music sensation. He's a country singer, songwriter, Western Canadian Music Award winner for Country Recording of the Year, nominated for Canadian Country Music Association Awards Album of the Year. It's just crazy how many awards this man's won. Introducing Codie Prevost. Hi, Cody.
Hey, Ali, how are you?
I'm awesome. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks a lot for having me on the show.
Oh, thanks for coming on. Now I'm gonna ask a few questions, and then feel free to just go off.
Sounds great.
Alrighty. So now you started playing when you were 14, right?
Yeah, my mom actually played a little bit of guitar as well as did my uncle. And I just remember at family reunions, we'd all get together. After everybody was in the party mood, they would pull out the guitars. And I just remember they each knew about three chords on the guitar, but somehow they could play 20 songs with those three chords. And the one thing that always comes back to me was how it would always bring so much joy to people, even though, you know what I mean, they only knew three chords and the majority of the songs were sang off key. It really didn't matter. It was just something about the power of music that brought out the joy in everybody. And I just thought to myself, if I could do that with my life one day, that's what I'd love to do. And from then on, I just went upstairs, took my mom's guitar down to my bedroom, and every time I come home from school, I'd sit in my bedroom for like 3 to 4 hours just practicing new chords and new guitar techniques.
That's awesome. Now, before I get into one of the questions I'm dying to ask you, you're from Archerville, Saskatchewan. That's correct, right?
That's right, and that's a really small town. It's out in the northeast part of the province, and it's a town of about 250 to 300 people, so very small. My mom actually owns the small town bar there, and I grew up on a farm just outside of town. My dad farms about 3,000 acres, so that's kind of basically my background.
Awesome. Now, I find this really funny.
Yeah,
You started out in a punk band.
yeah, it was interesting times. It was during high school, and I had started playing acoustic guitar for quite a while, and then I ended up talking my mom and dad into helping me purchase an electric guitar with an amp from a local store in my small town. And I started getting some lessons, and one thing led to another, and I knew a couple of my friends in school who were interested also in music, and we talked about it, and one guy agreed to get drums, and the other guy agreed to get a bass guitar, and so we started a three-piece rock and roll band called Blind Ham, and basically that name came from home ec class. We were taking some sewing technique courses, and one of the techniques we had to do was a blind ham, and I thought, at the time I was into Blink 182 and Green Day, and I just, I thought it was a great name at the time, and so we started jamming every recess and every spare class we got, and that's basically where the punk rock band came from.
Yeah, I'd love to hear some of those songs. I'm glad you went country, as I'm Canadian, so I'm a huge country music fan. I love all music, but especially country. Now, what made you decide to go to country?
I was, doing the rock and roll, the punk rock band, and I had an uncle of mine who loved country music. He was originally from Calgary, and he suddenly passed away. And I was, my whole family went to Calgary to attend his funeral, and the previous summer I'd been working on road construction, and I had saved up $1,100, which was the most money I'd ever had. And I just really wanted to purchase a new electric guitar and, step it up for the punk rock band. And on that trip, I went into the music store, and my dad was with me, and he talked me into going to the acoustic guitar room. And I picked up this Takamine guitar, which is a brand name of a guitar. And I sat down and I did one strum, and it was just rang through the whole room. And I just remember thinking, I got to buy this guitar here today. And I bought an acoustic guitar that day, went home, I learned Folsom Prison Blues, and ever since then I've been playing country music, and it's been such an incredible change, and definitely, more suitable for where I come from and from my roots.
Well, that's great. Now, I can't even list all the awards, so I'm going to just basically ask you. Now, you've won, I think, 26 Saskatchewan Country Music Awards.
I've been fortunate. It's I've just been getting to do what I love, and when you find yourself at award shows and you get recognized by your peers, it's such a huge honor to receive those awards and to be recognized and to to feel like you're on the right path and you're doing what you should be doing, and that's why every day I'm so thankful to be doing music. And for me, it's never been about the awards, but it's definitely something that came along that I'm very proud of, and extremely proud that my peers had recognized me like that.
Well, I know a lot of people, when I mention your name, they call you very humble. So it's nice to know that even after all the success you have and are still going to have, you're still humble. That's amazing.
I
Now,
guess it also comes down to when you do find that passion in what you really want to do. I guess my reason for doing music was always because going back to that family reunion and seeing the joy it can bring to people, and with that as the main goal in mind, and the main goal is to take people away from everyday life and just play your music and have them interact with the show. To me, that's what it's always been about, and I think that's what makes it so easy to be humble, because I know so many people who would love to be doing music full time, and so to be doing that and to be making a living at it, that's the main goal, and it's just been a true blessing.
great. That's great. That's great. That was awesome. Now, you met your manager, Al LeBlanc, when you were in
Yeah.
college, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now,
I was basically doing a talent contest. My dad had called me and said there was a talent contest in a small town near where I grew up, and that I should enter. And so I took his advice, and I called and I put in an application, and I went and I played a couple of original songs at this talent contest, and I made it to the final round in that contest. But after that first round, a guy walked up to me after my performance, and he said he was working at a recording studio in the near area, and they would love for me to come in because I was playing original material. I started writing songs when I was about 16, and I played a couple of original songs, and so I ended up going home after that, and I wasn't sure if I'd ever see this guy again. And lo and behold, the next week, Al called me and got in touch with me, and he said, "Are you going to come down and do some recording?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." And then we set it up for the next week, and it just kind of started happening. Every month we'd get together 2 or 3 times and record songs and just work on music. And one thing led to another. And one day I just asked him if he'd be interested in booking me some shows. And he started booking me shows for $100 a night in small town bars. And they really couldn't say no, because the bars would sell 5 beers and they'd pay for the band. So it was a pretty incredible situation.
well, that's good. Now, the thing that I find funny about Al is he told you that you had to learn 30 songs in 4 weeks, and then called you 2 weeks later and said he booked you, so that cut down your learning these 30 songs to 2 weeks.
Yeah, that was a stressful time in my life, but sometimes when you're pushed into something like that, it really forces you to do it. I guess sometimes as humans, we can procrastinate from time to time, and sometimes when we procrastinate, the things we want to achieve don't really happen because we're not just getting out and doing it. And it's that, you know what I mean, when you get forced into it and you just have to do it, you have to learn it. That was the learning lesson from that experience. And I got through those shows, and it was, every weekend after that I was booked, and every show got easier and easier as, of course, obviously I learned the songs along the way.
You didn't really have a choice. Now,
Well, exactly.
you've played concerts with Florida Georgia Line, Joe Nichols, Big and Rich, but the one that sticks out to me is when you began a tour with Stephen McGuire called Imagine No Bullying, and you also included the Canadian Red Cross. Now, you would go school to school, is that correct?
Yes, we would. But actually, the tour started at the Broadway Theatre in Saskatoon, and basically it was Stephen. He had this idea for this show called Imagine No Bullying, and so he called about 10 of us local artists from the area, and to see if we'd be interested in performing at this concert with him. And everybody jumped at this chance to do this because you and I both know that, this is a bigger and a bigger problem all the time, the bullying with the internet and with cyberbullying and everything that's going on in the world today. And so we just all got together and we did this show at the Broadway Theatre. And after this concert, Stephen was getting calls from people all over. There was people in Saskatchewan, but there was also people from Manitoba and other provinces calling for Stephen to bring this show to their community. And Stephen was thinking, well, it's not really feasible to take 10 artists on the road. So he called me and he asked me if I'd be interested in, growing up in a small town, obviously, that is out there. I was in a different time a little bit, though, because, obviously when I was growing up, we only had dial-up internet at the time. And you basically just got on to do what you wanted to do. It wasn't 24 hours a day you'd have internet. And so I just, right away this hit home for me, and I just really wanted to do this tour with Stephen. So we partnered on it, and we started going to school, and we've done numerous schools now, and it's been an incredible tour. And actually the Red Cross was involved with us. They would come along, and all the money went back to the Red Cross. And we had a representative at all the shows who would speak on behalf of the Red Cross and, give numbers for helplines and things that where the students could look to if they were going through troubled times.
Yeah, and that's fantastic because it is a big issue, and it's nice to know that there are people out there that do have fame that are addressing these kind of things, because I got bullied when I was growing up, so I know what it's like. Okay.
Well, I think there's, somewhere along the way, everybody has almost, it's kind of one of those things where it was in every community, and it still is, but it's to bring that awareness to people, to let them know, because I think lots of times people, you know what I mean, they just kind of shrug it off.
Yeah.
And it's not, they just think that it's, that just happens and just move on. But lots of times nowadays, it doesn't end because of the internet and because of the 24-hour a day, connection to everybody.
Yeah. Well, at least we have people out there that are addressing it, which is fantastic. Now, you have 4 albums out?
Yes.
Okay.
Just working on my 5th.
You're coming back after you finished your 5th, right?
Well, that's right.
All right. So you've got The Road Ahead, Spin 6-Pack Volume 1, and Get Loud, and the CD that you can get for free on your website right now, right, is All Kinds of Crazy?
Yeah, if you join the mailing list, you will get a digital download email with the album attached.
That's great. Now I'm going to tell you what my favorite songs are off that CD because I've listened to it over and over again. I'll Be Your Whiskey, love that song. And I'm a girl. I also like Melting Into You. So now what songs are playing on the radio of yours right now off that album?
Well, those two actually haven't. But you know what? It's so funny that you say that because, I get numerous messages just from giving the album away through my email list and stuff. I get numerous reviews from, fans and from different music lovers around the world. And more times than not, the favorite song or one of the top favorite songs is I'll Be Your Whiskey. And it's so funny to me because this song I actually didn't write, but I had this song sitting on my desktop for 3 to 4 years. Even I had that song pitched to me when I was recording the Get Loud album. And I remember getting ready to finish up the All Kinds of Crazy album, and I needed one more song. I was just missing that song, that mid-tempo power ballad type song. And I remember looking through old file, either the folders get pretty mixed up on the desktop, but I remember searching through the folders and just coming across that song and turning it on, and I just remember thinking to myself, why didn't I record this on the Get Loud album? Like, this is a good tune. And so I ended up recording it, and it's, you know what I mean? It's been awesome because there's so many people that's been their favorite song, and it's definitely one that I as well fell in love with.
Well, I'm glad you went back and found it because I could listen to it over and over again. Now, I wanted to touch on one more thing that I thought was just amazing. One of the songs you wrote off of your Get Loud album was for a friend of yours. It was
Yeah,
called I'm Okay. Can you tell me about that?
sure. So when I was growing up, like there's not a lot of people in our school. I'd say there was probably 100 to 120 students in the whole school. And when I was about 14 years old, I'll never forget because my best friend, she lost her brother in a car accident. And when you're that close to someone in your life and you see them go through a tragic time like that, you want to find some way to help them, but that way to help through that kind of time is not easy. And so as I kept pursuing music, kept songwriting, kept, growing as an artist, I came to the realization that, that's my way of helping, I think, is by writing songs. And so I travel to Nashville every, 2 to 3 times a year to do songwriting down there with quite a few people I've met over the years. And I was down there on a trip and I sat down with a good friend of mine who I, write with all the time because we just really click as songwriters together. And I shared this, this tragic story of how my best friend had lost her brother and told my songwriting friend, how hard that was and, to watch somebody you're that close to go through something like that. And I said, today, if we could write a song, I want to try to write something that can help her and people going through the same situation through that. And so that day we sat down and we came up with the song I'm Okay. And it's definitely, it's definitely been one of the songs that I'm the most proud of having a hand in writing.
Well, I can't even describe how that is because I know when I listened to the song, I lost somebody that I was actually in a relationship to cancer. And when I listen to that song, it makes me cry. So I honestly don't listen to it a lot, but it's an awesome,
Right.
awesome song. Okay,
Well,
go ahead.
and I think that's what it is, just knowing that, the people who you have lost are okay, just for the peace of mind and just knowing that, there is a great place after this.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, do you have kids?
I do. Actually, my daughter just turned 2 in November, so it's been a whirlwind journey becoming a dad over the last couple of years. And we're actually expecting our second baby coming up at the end of May.
Congrats.
So, yeah, thank you. So it's exciting times. It's been a whole new journey getting into being a dad and taking on that role, and it's definitely been an eye-opening experience. But it's just the most amazing thing. I think that words are hard to explain it. But you know what I mean? You never thought you could love someone so much until you have a baby girl.
Yeah. Well, and especially when you're a guy and you have a baby girl.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think that might lead to trouble coming up in the future.
I have a 30-year-old daughter. Actually, she was pretty good, but my granddaughter is going to cause us all, I don't know, nervous breakdowns.
How old is she?
She is 10 going on 20.
Oh, yeah. They grow up pretty fast.
They do, especially nowadays with all the social media that's around.
Yeah, it's like they know how to use an iPhone before they're born.
My 12-year-old grandson has shown me how to use more apps and programs than I think anybody in my life. It's just embarrassing, kind of.
Yeah, I don't know how they do it, but they sure figure it out fast.
They do. Now, what was it like when you first heard yourself on radio? Because that must have been, I couldn't even describe it if it was me.
Yeah, I was actually driving down the road, and I had a car at the time. It was a Dodge Caliber. And I just remember I think I was actually driving to a gig or to the studio. And the song came on the radio, and I just pulled over and turned it up. And you know what? The hairs on my arms just stood right up. And it was one of those moments, a surreal moment when you just, at the time, you've worked so hard to get to that point, but that was actually just the beginning. But you worked so hard to get that album done, to get that song done, to write that song. And now there was the radio station was playing it. And, I just remember all the texts coming in after that first time of people saying they heard me on the radio and how cool it was. And it's just a very surreal moment that you never forget.
I wouldn't either. I can't sing, so thank God. But anyway, Now, I know your wife doesn't go on tour with you because, I mean, now she's got a 2-year-old and she's pregnant. Will she ever go on tour with you, do you think, or?
Oh, you know what I mean? I want my family involved as much as they can be. And, like, I've been getting the opportunity to go on tour to Australia for the past couple of years. And so there's definitely talk of, you know, maybe the next trip or the one after of taking the family with me. And, you know, trips like that, you know, obviously taking it as a work trip, but then as well stay maybe an extra week or two and then, you know, have the family there and get to spend time that way. So it's, you know what I mean? There's so many great things about being in music, and my daughter already is singing a few songs, and so it's pretty cool to see that, you know, her starting to already take a liking to music, and it'll be interesting. I'm so excited to see how that develops and what that becomes.
Well, we're going to keep in contact through interviews every time a new CD of yours or a song drops, or you win awards, so we'll always hear how your kids are doing.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, if you had advice to give anybody that's starting out in the music industry and struggling, because it is hard to break through, what advice would you give them?
Well, you know, it is hard to break through, but at the same time, you know, I think if you think of it as a business, like at first, of course, you know what I mean, you have to love it, and you have to, you know, start to do music because you really enjoy, you love learning about it, you love every aspect of music. But after you've realized that you love it and you want to pursue it further, then you almost have to change it into a business and have a plan and start moving forward. Like, probably the biggest piece of advice I can give is to get out there and perform. And, you know, when you first start out, there probably is going to be quite a few gigs where you have to perform for free. But at those free gigs, make sure to take full advantage of it and start a mailing list. Make sure to get a website up. You know, get a website up even before you start touring. And as soon as you start touring, build that mailing list and build that foundation of fans. Because, you know, those are the people who are going to support you along the whole. You know, a label might pick you up for a while, but then they might drop you. But if you have that foundation in place where you already have a mailing list, you have your core fans who believe in you, who, you know what I mean, support you, who want to be part of your journey, then you're always going to have that. And, you know, it doesn't matter if a label has you or if you're dropped or if you're independent, you still have a career in music.
Well, that's great. Now, I know you keep in touch with your fans via Twitter, and you have, I call it your Twitter Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday night Twitter party.
And you keep in contact with them, let them know what's going on and everything like that. So to those who are listening, if you want to talk to Cody, have any questions for him, definitely go on Twitter. Now tell me where we can buy your CD. Any of your CDs.
Yeah, so you can get it pretty much anywhere online, as well as in HMV in Canada. But you can get it on iTunes. You can also, nowadays, you know, there's Spotify, and as well, you can join the mailing list on the website and get the digital download for free. And, you know, anywhere online you can get it. You can also order a physical copy through my website, which is CodiePrevost.com, and it's CodiePrevost.com, and that'll be an autographed copy that you'll get. And so those are the ways to get the album.
Okay, great. Now, where are you going next? Are you going on tour? What's happening with you?
I'm just mapping out this year because I'm just finishing up this new album. And so there is a lot of tour dates coming in, which are, you know what I mean, as they come in, I do list them on the website. And so there's basically, you know, quite a few dates coming in right now, but then there's also talk of another Australia tour. And, you know what I mean, I'll just be kind of all over the map this year. Once the album comes out, it'll be even busier, and it's gonna be a great year.
Well, awesome. I can't wait. Now, what 2 songs are we going to hear from you today?
I'm going to be playing Someday, and then one off the last album, the Get Loud album, which is called Honky Tonk Groupie.
Okay. We will look forward to listening to those. Some Days is off of All Kinds of Crazy. So I'm just going to encourage everybody to please go out and buy his music. It's amazing. He's an amazing person. And thank you so much for joining me, Cody. Like, this has been a great conversation.
Well, thank you, Ali. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay. Well, and thank you for listening to Ali's Attic. Tune in next week for my show and surprise guest, because you never know what kind of surprises you'll find in an attic. Cheers.